All right, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, wa ba'd. So welcome to our Friday family night. Tonight is the open Q&A session, but I was given some advice from one of our administration members that I should start asking some questions. And it's a good idea, actually. I liked the idea when I heard it. So the reason why we're going to do this is because there's this perception in the community generally that people who grew up in certain countries or people who come from certain families, they automatically have like Islamic knowledge. Now that may be true. They may have more Islamic knowledge than the average person who's never read anything, but oftentimes there still needs to be some corrections that are made because un-Islamic ideas creep in to oftentimes people's upbringing or their education. So it's important to clarify some of these things. So I'm going to start, inshallah ta'ala, by asking questions to see what kind of answers we're getting. And I don't want, here's the rule, very simple rule, in addition to not talking like what's happening out there. All right, so simple rule is, if you answer a question right once, you cannot answer a question again. Process elimination, okay? If you answered a question correctly once tonight, you should not answer another question anymore. Okay? All right, we're going to start. I'm going to pick one person. Inshallah ta'ala. It's too easy then, you know. Because the people who will know, I was actually going to start with you. so I'm going to start with Abu Samir, who came up with the idea in the first place. All right? You ready? No, so you can go home after this. Okay. Most of these are all real cases that I got, or they're real cases that some other sheikh has gotten. Okay? Question is, a girl comes to you, and she says, I did something haram, I committed zina, I'm not married, and I made a big mistake, I'm very sorry for it. The guy dumped me after a little while, and I just found out that I'm pregnant. Okay? She went to the doctor, the fetus is 127 days. She says, I cannot take care of a child on my own, and if I tell my parents are going to kill me. Okay? What do you tell that sister? MashaAllah. MashaAllah, what a great answer. Go ask Sheikh Mustafa. Okay. You have no answer. Okay, does anyone have the answer? What should you tell this person? The question that she's asking is, I want to get an abortion. So the question is, can she get an abortion? Okay. But who says yes she can? Raise your hand. You say yes. Who else says yes? It's okay. I mean, it's okay if you make it. I'm going to clarify, inshallah. Who says no? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. What is your evidence? Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Correct answer. So after 120 days, it's for sure, 100% sure that the soul is already put inside the child, and therefore this is a living, breathing human being. So unless there's a danger to the mother's life, you cannot take this child because this is actually a person. It's a human being. You cannot kill it off just like that. Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. Now you're ready to go home, inshallah. No, you're good. Alhamdulillah. Second question. Somebody is concerned, someone is getting married, and the father is concerned for his daughter, that his daughter, the guy that she's marrying, he has a little bit of an anger problem. And he's afraid that if she does something to upset him, he's going to quickly divorce her. So he comes up with this idea, which is known in many cultures, Arab culture, Afghani culture. It's called mu'akhar. Who's heard the term mu'akhar before? Heard mu'akhar? Okay. So it's pretty common, right? So he comes up with this idea and says, okay, look, let's look at how much this guy makes. The guy's an engineer. He makes about 90,000 a year. Okay? They're calculating he probably saves about 20, 30,000. So we're going to put the mu'akhar at 300,000. So at least for 10 years, he cannot divorce this woman. because he won't have the money to be able to pay it off. Because if he divorces her, he has to pay her $300,000. But if they remain married, then he doesn't need to pay her any of that stuff. The mahar is just, do they do a mahar with mu'akhar as well? They do? Okay, so the mahar is 5,000 and the mu'akhar is 300,000. But this is 300,000, this guy doesn't have this much money, but he probably have it in like maybe 10 years if he saves really, really well to prevent divorce from taking place. Is this allowed in Islam? Who says? Yes, raise your hand. Okay. Yes, say yes. Who says no, raise your hand. Who honestly has no idea, raise your hand. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, MashaAllah. So very, very honest people, MashaAllah, very honest crowd. Okay. That's right, we have to be honest, we're in the masjid, alhamdulillah. Okay, who said yes? You said yes, right? Okay, what is your reasoning behind why it's allowed? Okay, so good explanation. So the thing is, any condition you make within a marriage contract, your conditions are binding. So therefore, you have to abide by whatever condition you make, right? So that's generally true, but there's an exception to the rule. And the exception is this, that if you take an Islamic contract, okay, any contract that's within the Sharia, and you try to add another condition onto it, it's a promise, but it's not a condition. There's a difference between a promise and a condition. So the promise that you make, you say, okay, I make this promise, I'm not going to do it, and if you break the promise, what happens? Okay, you're sinful for breaking the promise. But if you break a condition, what ends up happening is that that contract becomes invalid. So adding conditions to a contract, like let's say, for example, an economic contract. So we're making a contract, and we make a condition that if something happens, I'm going to pay you this much money. And with the conditions that you've added, you end up having the equivalent of a riba interest contract. Would it be valid? It wouldn't, even though the hadith is there that you should fulfill whatever you vow or whatever you decide, but it's still not considered to be permissible. So that's reason number one. He would say the same thing. He would say the same thing. Yeah, trust me. So what we did was, this is a common thing in the community. So we actually had a meeting 2 years ago. All the local shuyukh, all the local imams in the community. We sat down and we said, this is an issue that we keep on seeing again and again, this idea of mu'akhar. And the understanding of mu'akhar in many cultures is that you put this extremely high amount, and the high amount is only due in the case of divorce. And if there's no divorce, then it's not due. The problem is, this is not mahr, right? This idea of mu'akhar, right? This mahr is the dowry. It's part of the Islamic marriage. It's part of the Islamic contract. This is something that the man is supposed to be giving to the wife, right, upon marriage. The mu'akhar means deferred mahr. That's what it's supposed to be, mahr mu'akhar. Mahr is something which is due regardless. It's due no matter what. You can't put an additional condition on that and say, only up in the event of divorce, this and such thing is going to happen. Why would this not be allowed in Islam? It would not be allowed in Islam because divorce is something that is permissible. And if people become miserable, absolutely miserable, right? The relationship is not working at all, and the person wants to get out of the marriage, what's going to end up happening? They're forced to be stuck in the marriage because they cannot afford a get out. So what's going to happen? Marriage is going to be miserable, life is going to be miserable. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed. He's allowed divorce. It's not the best thing, but He's allowed it. So when you take something that Allah has allowed and you make it haram for yourself virtually, you've taken away the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's where the issue is. Okay? So we have to be very careful about these things, inshallah. Yes? No, it's not. It's not part of Islam. It's not part of Islam at all. Prenuptial agreement, it can be done. So if it's completely on the side, see, the idea of mu'akhar is people think it's something that's part of Islam, and they think it's part of the mahr. Now, if you want to do some type of prenuptial agreement on the side, not connected to the marriage contract, perfectly fine. That's fine. There's no problem. No, not at all. Not at all. It means how you want to divide the assets. I mean, depending on who you're marrying, You decide that, you know what, well, I'm bringing this into the marriage, you're bringing this into the marriage. I'm bringing such and such skills into the marriage with this many responsibilities. You're coming in and bringing different amount of responsibilities. You can organize however you want. Hmm. He what? Yeah, it's how you divide your assets in case of separation. Yeah, that's different. So that's allowed. You can go ahead and do that in case of separation. Say, well, this is what's going to happen to protect your assets, to protect you from being abused or something. That's fine. That can be done. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Because it's conditional. So the question is, he quoted a verse in the Quran that if you've given somebody a qintar, like a whole treasure, really high amount of money, you cannot take it away upon the, in the event of divorce or something. So this is referring to the mahr, right? Mahr is a dowry. So that's part of Islam. It's part of the marriage contract. It has to be there. No, so what I'm trying to explain is this idea of mahr and the idea of mu'akhar, right? Mahr is something that you're supposed to be giving immediately. Mu'akhar is this concept that came later, right? That people said, okay, you know what? This person wants a high amount of dowry. They want qintar, okay? Like it says, I want $100,000 as mahr, as dowry. Okay, fine. But I don't have this much money. I only have 50,000. Okay, but this person says, no, but I want 100,000. If you want to marry me, it has to be 100,000. So okay, fine. I'll pay you some now and I'll pay you some later. This type of mu'akhar is allowed in Islam. This mu'akhar is fine. But then there's an idea, it's called mu'akhar in the community, that this amount is only due upon divorce. And if you remain married throughout your life, you're not getting $100,000. You're not getting any of that money. There's no mahr involved. It's only if I divorce you, then I'm going to have to give you this money. So it's not a mahr anymore. Mahr is supposed to be a gift. This mu'akhar, what people are understanding mu'akhar to be, it's not a gift, it's a penalty. It's basically a threat, right? So you better not get divorced. No matter what happens, you better not be the one initiating divorce. So what usually is going to happen, it's not even healthy what happened. What's usually going to happen is the woman then, right? If she want, if let's say the guy wants to get out of the marriage, he can't afford to get out of the marriage. What is he going to do? Usually what ends up happening, he makes the woman's life as miserable as possible so that she says that I'm going to, make a khula with you or somehow get out of this marriage in another way because you can't divorce me because we already made this condition. So it's not a good scenario and it's not the best way to protect marriages from happening. The best way to protect marriages is to have proper premarital counseling, is to raise people in strong valued families with good, strong family values, Islamic values. That's the best way to ensure that there's going to be successful marriage, not this other thing that's going on, unfortunately, in the community. So it's a semantic problem. So the question that he's asking is, if the imams know that this is not part of Islam, will they allow the marriage to go forward when this mu'akhar is being written? So it's a semantics, right? It's wording. The idea of mu'akhar, of delaying the mahr, is allowed in Islam. But when it's understood that the delay of mahr is only payable upon divorce, that's not allowed in Islam. So what happens is when people write this contract or they say we're doing mu'akhar or whatever it is, right? We explain to people, this that you're signing up for, if you're calling it mahr mu'akhar, anything that's mahr, you have to pay no matter what. You cannot make it conditional upon divorce only. So we clarify that, right? And then a lot of people go, okay, that's interesting. Now, if they follow that, that's fine. If they don't want to follow it, then they'll say, no, we just go back to what our understanding of mu'akhar is. So we're not going to, usually we don't stop the performance of the marriage because most people will say, oh, okay, that's interesting, It's good to know, I didn't realize that. So the terms are the same. You just have to apply them correctly. So we explain to people, we teach them, and then it's up to them if they're going to follow or they're going to go back and, say, no, we don't care, whether it's part of Islam or not. We don't care what you're saying. We're just going to do it anyways. So we won't stop the marriage from taking place on this type of thing because there is a real mahar mu'akhar which is legitimate. Okay? I have this same question, slightly different. Actually tonight I'm asking the questions. So we've turned things around. So actually this was my question. So I got another question now. Okay? So you got a masjid. This is a hypothetical one. Okay? So you got a masjid. They would like a loan from another masjid. Okay? Or you got an Islamic organization and they would like a loan from another Islamic organization that is doing a little bit more financially well off. They have some money in their account. So they say, we would like a loan from you, okay, and we're going to pay you this back after 3 years. The exact same amount, no riba, no increase or anything like that. But there's just one condition that the masjid that has the extra money, they said, okay, that's perfectly fine. We're going to loan you the money. We're just asking for one thing, is that you have your annual bazaar in your Islamic organization in the hotel. And you're always charging people for a table, right, for advertising your programs. So this masjid says, we'll loan you on the condition that every single time you have a bazaar, we get the table for free. Is this permissible or not permissible? Who says yes? Raise your hand. Yes. Who says no? Raise your hand. No. Okay. Who said yes? Raise your hand. I need to call on you. Explanation. Why do you think it's permissible? It just sounded good. MashaAllah. 2 masjids working together. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Lifeline. Why do you think it's permissible? So Muslims helping Muslims shouldn't be any problem at all. Okay. Right. So it's for a good cause, right? They'd be able to, further their activities and all of that. Okay, good. Who said no? You can give me an explanation. Brother Amir, why you say no?
Because it's almost like a tax. It's almost like an interest. It's like if the table was $400, and every time that you have an event, it's $400. That's almost like a tax. It's almost like riba. That's how I see it.
It is riba. It is riba, right? It is exactly interest. Why? Because the definition of interest in Sharia is that if you give somebody a loan and they have to pay you the money back and something additional, you get some additional benefit, any benefit, even if you say you have to send me a greeting card at the end of the year, you're asking for that as part of the transaction, otherwise you would not get that, it's considered to be interest. Because even 1 cent or one free lunch that comes along with paying the loan back or whatever favor it is, whether it's monetary or whether it's an item, that is considered to be riba in and of itself. So this would not be a permissible contract, right? And we need to be very careful about this idea of riba because we always see it in terms of monetary, right? So what a lot of people will do, I just gave a masjid example, what a lot of people will do is say, you know what, look, I'm going to loan you $100. You pay me back, I'm not going to ask you for more than $100, but you know what, can I borrow your car? For the weekend, since I'm giving you a loan of $100, right? You're getting an additional favor. You would not get the favor if you didn't loan the money. So you taking another favor on top of the loan is exactly what riba is. Riba means increase on top of the capital that you're giving in the first place. Okay, so this would not be permissible. We need to be very cautious about these type of things in our community. Yeah, the whole Islamic finance, that's a whole different question. So I might ask you tonight about that too. But remember, I'm asking the questions tonight, inshallah. If there's a clarification, I'll take clarification, inshallah. Right, but they would not be able to do it unless they gave the loan. You see, if... No, it's... It is. It's a shart. That's what I'm saying. If it is a shart, right? If it's a condition that we're giving you this money on the one condition that you're going to let us have the table for free. It's a, this table would cost money normally. S- uh, Right. Right. That's exactly what it does, though. So it makes a riba contract. So giving a loan with an additional, when you're getting money back, you expect something in addition to the capital that you loaned out back, and you're expecting to get a booth for free. That is a shart which violates the Sharia. Exactly like you said, it makes it haram. So the contract becomes haram in and of itself. The agreement itself becomes haram. Does that make sense? Okay, alhamdulillah. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. Okay. All right, next question for everyone. All right. So, we're not allowed to eat pork. We should not be eating any type of pig. We should not be eating bacon. We should not be eating ham. We should not be using pig fat. We should not be using lard, tortillas that are cooked in lard and all of that stuff. Sorry to all the Latino sisters and brothers here, love their tortillas. We're not allowed to do any of that. But the question is, to what extent how should we view pigs as animals? Is it fine for your child to have a stuffed animal pig? Or it shouldn't be there? Is it fine for them to watch a cartoon where the lead star is a cartoon pig? Is it fine for them to, let's see, what else do I have? Watch nature programs, the Discovery Channel, and they're just watching the pig and its qualities, and this is the pig going and talking to the other pigs or whatever it is. To what extent do we regulate these things? Is there a problem with, okay, let me ask a more straightforward question. Is there a problem with children having pigs as toys? Because we don't eat pigs as Muslims. Who says, yes, we should avoid that? Who says, no, we don't need to avoid it? Okay. More decisions are coming out. Who's still like, I have no idea, just tell me the answer. Okay, so we still got quite a few. Okay, so the one who said, no, we should avoid it. Only one person? Okay, Bismillah. Why?
I think it's psychological.
Mm-hmm.
It's like alcohol. Like we can't drink alcohol, so we can't sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're flirting with the idea of a pig and making it a cute little pet or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's psychological. I wouldn't say that it's haram because I don't know. I'm not a scholar.
Mm-hmm.
I would say just the psychology behind it.
Mm.
I would say that it would be something that we should avoid as much as possible. Because the psychological ramifications
Okay.
of what the pig is.
Good. Who would like to respond to that? The people who said, no, it's not a problem. What is your explanation? Yes, Bismillah. Mm-hmm. Mm. So what about the idea that, the alcohol, right? Like in the Quran, it says we don't drink alcohol, but we shouldn't stay near it either, right? You shouldn't go near it. There's hadith that talk about that too, right? So in the Quran, it talks about lahm al-khinzir, we shouldn't, be eating pig. Should we apply the same principle to alcohol when it comes to pig as well? We should avoid it. We should stay away from it as much as possible. Don't, keep these type of things in our home or anything like that. Okay, so we shouldn't extend the alcohol ruling to the pigs. You can extend. Of course you can. You can use qiyas. Qiyas is used all the time. So can you apply qiyas, Ismail? Can you apply an analogy of this on this? Okay. Anyone else? Oh, it's okay. But then so is alcohol, right? Someone will say, so is marijuana. It's part of Allah's creation. So, a lot of teenagers say that, by the way. Marijuana is part of Allah's creation. Yes. Okay, so they're not in the same category, you're saying. Okay, yeah. So, yes. Ah, okay, good. So we're not allowed to eat lions, right? Because they're predators. But we can have lion pets, lion animals, or something like that, right? Okay, so this is good. So there could be potentially, if we can prove that there is a psychological thing which, by having it in your home, it somehow leads you to eat it, then we should probably avoid that if we can prove that. But otherwise, we can't apply the rules, the strict rules that came when it comes to alcohol, applying analogy and saying, okay, the same thing applies on pigs, because the two are in two separate categories. Okay, so this is that was my next question. Okay, alhamdulillah. All right, next question. Somebody goes to a park. Name a park. What's a huh? The Great Park? Great Park in Irvine? Okay, Irvine Great Park. And there's some fruit-bearing trees over there. And the fruits, someone goes to the park and says, you know what? These fruits are just sitting here. Doesn't look like anyone's going to be taking these fruits. Can you go and grab your bag, your sack, and start collecting these fruits and taking them home? Who says no? Who says yes? Okay, let me change the question on you. You're going to go and gather the fruits, and then you're going to sell them inside the park. The answers have changed? Okay, you're going to gather them and take them home for yourself. Who said no, it's not allowed? Okay, who would like to explain? Bismillah. Oh, you explained once already, right? No, you didn't. No, you asked a question. Go ahead. No, I'm asking the questions. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, so since most people in the back didn't hear and you gave the right answer, I'm not going to repeat it. I'm going to keep on asking people. Right? So who said no? Okay, Bismillah. Why no? It's government property, doesn't belong to you to begin with. Okay, now let's say season is going out. You go to this great park all the time. And you know that these fruits, every single year, they just sit there and they go wasted and nobody collects them. Now can you pick them up? Still no. Because government property and the government said no, and therefore you cannot take it no matter what happens. Okay. You said yes. You can take it home. Yeah, we're taxpayers. Right. Okay. Okay. So if there's a sign that says don't pick, you'd say no. Okay. If there's no sign and it's a public park and we're taxpayers, you say we can take it.
Except for me, because I'm African American.
Oh yeah.
All its reparations, I gotta take it.
That's okay. So African Americans, they have to take it. That's right. So they paid out the Japanese Americans already, but they never paid the African Americans yet. So yeah. Well, you have to be a taxpayer of the city. So Amu Samar cannot go to the Great Park and just take the fruits then. If he lived in Irvine, he could. Okay. Interesting. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. It's good. So there's no clear-cut answer on this, actually. The thing is that if the owner or the government is telling you clearly that you're not allowed to do it, generally you should not be allowed to do it. The only time you can override that is if you know that this is completely going to waste and absolutely nothing is happening. There are some times where you can override that as long as there's not going to get any major problems or get you into trouble or something like that. Okay, so that's the general rule there. Yes. Depends where you're catching the fish, right? Yeah. So it depends on the property and the ownership of the property. What about your neighbor? So your neighbor's tree is going a little bit close to your property, right? and there's some fruits there, and this person never picks their fruits. Their apples just sit there and they end up dying and going to waste. Can you go ahead and just pick some of those apples? It's like right on the border, right over your side and the other neighbor's side of the fence. Can you just reach your hand over a little bit and just take some? Really? Okay, well, we got a real estate agent in the thing here. So.
My thing is, like a lot of times in a situation like that, their apples or their stuff falls on your side, and you got to clean it up. If their tree, you got to clean it up. So if I got to clean it up,
Yeah, but true. But the question was that it's not going to fall on your side. It's right in the middle. It's right in the middle of the barrier. Okay. Okay. You would just ask them. That would be a good neighbor, right? So, depending on where it falls, because it's right in the middle. Yes. Depends on the laws, right? But generally, if it's fallen into your property, you can add. The best thing to do is ask them, but otherwise you can take it. Inshallah ta'ala. Okay. The fruit in the masjid. Good. So, all those people who are picking fruit from the masjid over here, right? We're going to have to let you know what the regulations at IAOC are. So what are the regulations at IAOC? There are no regulations at IAOC, meaning like at all, there are no regulations. When it comes to fruit, there's no regulation. People can pick the fruit. It's common courtesy to ask. So it would be nice if you asked first. Who's picked the fruit? Be honest, come on. Who's done it? Come on. This is the masjid now. Okay. The one who was asking had picked it. I knew it. I knew it. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Khair, inshallah. All right, next question. I got the next one. All right. There's a contest. This is a real question that took place, okay? There was a contest in a newspaper. And the newspaper was basically saying that, look, there's a question, and if you can answer this question, you're going to get a prize. All you got to do is take your phone and you're going to text message the answer, right? But you're going to have to pay 20-cent fee every time you try to guess the answer, okay? The cost of the text message is going to cost you, it's like one of those 900 number type of things or 900 text message or something. Are you allowed to participate in this type of contest? I see a no. How many no's? No. And how many yeses? And like the whole sister side just did not vote on this one at all. It's like no comment. Okay. Why no? Who said no? Who has not answered before something? Okay, yeah, why no? Because you'll never win. So, mashallah. All right. Let's say there's a chance that you can win. Okay? Who else said no? Why'd you say no? It's gambling? Why is it gambling?
Because you're putting some money in order to get some reward back.
But they're skill based. So if there's skill involved, is it still gambling? That's the question. So he says no. Okay, why not?
Because it takes your brain and your intellect to come up with the answer. So
Okay.
it's not a chance. You think if it's a chance, yes or no, 50-50, then that's gambling.
If it's 50-50, then it's gambling.
If it's more of a skill and you know the answer to the question,
Okay.
and you're paying for it,
Okay, and you're paying for it. So how about poker? And it's not a 50-50, and it's a game of skill, right? So is poker not gambling? At Vegas, you go to Las Vegas, and there's some skill involved.
you're betting that you have a higher probability of winning the hand than somebody else.
Okay.
There's a chance that you don't have the higher hand than someone else.
Okay, how about chess? So it starts off very even, and everyone puts $100. You put $100, your opponent puts $100, and winner gets the pot. So skill is involved. Is that considered gambling when you put the $100 in the pot? Who says yes? Now we're on the chess question. Chess question. You're playing chess or checkers or whatever game starts out equally, okay? You put $100 on one side. Let's change it. You put $1, the other person puts $1. Winner gets all. Skill is involved. You know you're a better chess player than the guy in front of you. Is it gambling for you? Is it haram for you to participate in this game? Who says yes, raise your hand. Who says no, raise your hand. You change your answer. Good, mashallah. Smart guy. Alhamdulillah. So, alhamdulillah. The answer is, it is prohibited in Islam, because this is called a zero-sum game. And a zero-sum game basically means that what you're putting in, even if it's skill-based, one person is going to win everything and the other person is going to lose everything. This is the definition of gambling in Islam. The definition of gambling generally across the board. Okay. Now, gambling it's usually understood in American law to be when the odds are against you, but that's not the definition of gambling in the Sharia. There's two types of gambling that's there. One is skill-based, and one is where the odds are totally against you. They're both bad. One is worse than the other, but they're both considered gambling. Okay. And the cell phone question is in the same category. It's in the exact same category. Question on this one? Yeah. So any type of championship or something like that where the pot is equal, is all coming from the entry fees, it's going to be in the exact same category. So it should not be like that. Not always. So the thing is, you have people who are sponsoring, you have advertisers and all of that. They're going to be, sponsoring prizes for different things. That's fine. But things like raffle tickets as well, right? That's a game of chance. Some people go and take raffle tickets and they say, even at charity events. For example, some people had a great idea that let's do a raffle at a charity event. Everyone pays $5, you get a raffle ticket, and mashallah, if you get it, then you get the entire pot. It's not allowed in Islam. Is the prize always based on this? So I got the question. I get this question a lot. So when we investigate it, not every sport and not every game, it's based upon the pot itself. So it's not always based upon the entry fee. If it is based upon the entry fee, then it's tantamount to gambling and it's not going to be allowed. If there's an alternative way of doing it where it's not based on the entry fee, then it's allowed. Okay. Question on the same topic? Yeah. Same topic?
Same topic.
Exact same topic. Okay.
Let's say, you know that it's haram and you know it's not supposed to, but you end up buying a lottery.
You just do it.
You end up winning.
Okay, you buy a lottery ticket, you end up winning.
You won.
Yes.
And you end up, what do you do now?
It's exactly the same thing you do when you get interest from the bank. What do you do in that case? You give it all in charity with no expectation of any reward whatsoever.
When you get the money, then win.
You take the well, you're not getting, because you're giving away the money.
No, but just say you won a lottery of $1 million. Now you go get the money and give it to charity.
Yes, go get the money and give it to charity, because you're reducing. Yeah, you don't just throw it away. Get the money and give it to charity, but with no expectation of reward, and make tawbah and never do that again. Same copy. Yeah. A clear. How does that work? I don't know how it works. No, I'm not familiar with that. I grew up in a generation where everything digital. What's a magazine? No, I'm just kidding. So how does it work? You buy something from a magazine, or you buy a magazine subscription? Okay. Okay, like let's say sports magazine or something. So how does that? Then what happens? You buy a subscription for $30. You're going to get 12 issues throughout the year. Okay, now what happens?
You could win a house. Somebody could win a house.
Okay. So you could win if you buy the subscription. Now,
It's not extra though.
got it. So, right.
You have this subscription.
You're getting the magazines, but by buying the product, you got entered into some type of raffle without you wanting to participate. So if your intention was clearly, I want to buy these magazines, regardless of whether I'm entered into this competition or something like that, then it's fine. You could buy the magazines. And the same thing will happen, just like he asked about the question, if you got the winning lottery ticket, what do? You do the exact same thing. Give it out in charity. You didn't want to be part of this thing, right? But if your intention is to only buy this so that you can get in there, then you should not be doing it. Okay? Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. Next question. Is adoption allowed in Islam? Raise your hand if you say no. Is adoption allowed in Islam? If you say no, raise your hand. If you say adopting kids. We're gonna get to that. So raise your hand if you say yes, adoption is allowed in Islam. Adopting kids is allowed in Islam. That's a pretty almost 60-40 split there. So we got a big issue here. Okay, who said no? It's not allowed. Okay, why is adoption not allowed in Islam? Yes. Right. So. Okay. So you cannot take on another child. So let's say so what do we do with children then? Like, there's someone gives up their kids, they're taken by the government. You're not allowed to take them into your home? Okay. So you're saying you cannot put their name under your name, as if it's like your son. Okay. Who said yes, adoption is allowed? Okay, why is it allowed? Mm. Mm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So there are conditions, right? You're saying you can adopt, but with conditions. And one of the conditions is you treat them like children, but you don't ascribe to them being your real children. Okay, alhamdulillah. So this is a semantic issue. So the issue is, what is the definition of adoption, right? Can you take somebody else's children into your home to take care of them? Yes, you can, right? Can you treat them like your own children? Okay. Can you ascribe their parentage to yourself? That's what's not allowed, right? So it depends on how you're defining adoption. So there's this concept that adoption is either allowed or not allowed in Islam, and it just depends on what you mean by adoption. So if by adoption you mean saying that, telling the kid, I'm your parents, and going around telling everyone else, I'm your real parents, and acting as if you're the real parents, and making them, hold on, I'm going to get to the last question there, and doing all of that, that would not be allowed. But if you're taking care of someone, while explaining that this is someone who is in my care, but they're not actually my child, that's going to be allowed. So it depends on what the definition of adoption is. So foster child, there's another term for it, right? So now the question is, if you have a child who's in your care, it's not your real child, will they inherit from you? They will not inherit from you. So you have 2 kids, 2 boys, and you have a 3rd boy that you brought in who's not your child. But you raised all 3 of them up. They all behave and act like brothers. They all treat you like their parents, although they know one of them knows that it's not your real parentage. And the best child out of all 3 is the one that was not your real son. How can you get them to inherit from something from you? Is there any way? Is there any exception to the rule where they would be able to inherit from you as well? Who says, sorry, there's no way to inherit? I'm not talking about gift during life. I'm talking about the inheritance in the will. Can you put this person in your will or not? Who says, no, you cannot put this person in your will because they're not your real child? Raise your hand. Thank you. Who says, yes, you can put this person in your will despite the fact that they're not your real child? Okay. Who said no? Why? Why? So, right. So, inheritance, he's saying, is in the Quran. You cannot change it. The shares are fixed. And therefore, you cannot include this person in your will at all. Right. Who said yes? Yes, I'm looking for someone new. Come on, there was more yeses, man. Now when it comes time to explain, they're like, no, forget that, man. The guy convinced me. Who said yes? Who else said yes? Okay, Musammer. Why yes?
Because you have 30% of your wealth, you could do whatever you want to do with that.
Okay, so Musammer says 30% of your wealth, you are flexible, you could do whatever you want with it. Who agrees with that? Who thinks he's correct? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Who says no, he's mistaken, that is not true? Raise your hand, please. Raise your hand. One hand. Can you tell me why he's wrong? It becomes a gift? Okay. So that's not the correct answer. Even though he's wrong, I'm looking for someone to clarify why he's wrong. Yes.
My understanding of inheritance is something that is undecided and the person dies, then the people left over will decide based on Islamic Sharia law. But if somebody only has intention, he put in the will that I will give this to this person, even though he's not my relative, while I'm alive, I'm able to give it to him. I mentioned that in my contract, and it's mentioned very clearly, it's written down, then they should follow through.
So you're saying you can't put anyone else in your will? You can't, or you're saying you can. So you agree with him?
You can put a next door neighbor in
Okay, okay,
because you're alive and you can decide.
okay,
But once you're dead,
okay, good.
left over not decided,
Okay.
be according to the Sharia.
So the issue is with the 30% that he mentioned. Does anyone have an issue with 30%? You could do 100%? So then your children don't get anything. Your real children get nothing, and you can go 100% to your neighbor, like you're saying. One small little correction I just want to make. There's a 1/3 rule. Is 30% equal to 1/3? I just wanted to make it very clear. Alhamdulillah. 33%. Right? So his answer was almost on the spot. So the thing is, you're allowed to include in your will up to 1/3 of your estate people who are not your family members. Like you said, even your neighbor. Could be anybody. Right? With one exception. And that is, you cannot re-include another family member. Because then they'd be getting double share. Right? So you cannot change the share percentage ratios. Okay? I don't remember, how did we get on this topic in the first place? No, I know. What was the original? Oh, adoption. We were at adoption. Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
What if the child doesn't have a name?
You can assign them a name. Yeah, any family member. If you don't know who their family member is, you can assign them a name. The thing is, you're not ascribing your parentage to the child and pretending as if this is your real child. That's what's not allowed. Okay? All right. Can you adopt any child? Yeah, that's a separate issue. It's a separate issue. But can you take any child into your house? Yeah, absolutely. To take care of them? You can adopt an adult. I mean, you could take an adult into your house, right? Technically, depending on what your definition of adoption is, right? Yeah. The mahram is an issue, right? It's going to be an issue, but that's a separate issue, right? So it doesn't become a real family member in the sense that you don't have hijab rules and all of that. That still is going to apply because they're not your real family member. Okay, yeah, so good you clarified that. So the rules of hijab, even though you're treating them like your family, they still apply because it's not a real member of the family. So that should be very clear as well, okay? All right, next question. This is a real question. My wife and I are expecting our first child. We would like to choose the name for the child ourselves, but our parents, both sides of the family, are saying, no, it is our tradition that we will name the child. And we don't like the name that the parents are choosing for our child. Who has priority to name the child? That's the first question. The second question is, what's the best way to deal with this scenario? So question, okay. Who has priority to name the child? The parents or the grandparents? Okay, so that one was pretty clear. How do you deal with this scenario? Who wants to take a shot at it? What's the best way to deal with this scenario? You move away, mashallah. So, family counseling done. Alhamdulillah. It depends on the scenario, right? So you try to convince your parents that, look, if you're willing to make a little bit compromise in order to make your parents happy, you should try to make them happy as well, right? For some reason you absolutely just can't stand this name, or the person's going to get made fun of or something like that, then you tell them very nicely that, you know what, this name that, we can't take, maybe we can, if you do the whole middle name thing, maybe you could incorporate into a middle name or agree upon some other issues or something like that. But so that was an easy question. Alhamdulillah, you guys got that one. Okay. Next question. As a Muslim convert, can we keep our American name like John and Kelly? Okay, so that was easy. What if your name is Christina? No. I got one no. Who says no? Who says no? Who says yes, perfectly fine, keep the name? Who knows what Christina means? Just look at the name carefully. It's got Christ in there, right? So does that play any role? Does that make a difference? Right. You don't think, why not? Right? So what does Christ mean? Right, so Christina has a specific Catholic connotation of not only having the name of Jesus, but it actually has something above and beyond that in terms of the type of worship that's there. So the question comes back down to, is this understood within the community at all? Like when they look at the name Christina, does anyone understand this to be the origin, or it's like completely, there's like almost no connection whatsoever today? Okay. So if there's no connection, then it's allowed to keep the name. All right, this is the actual question that comes in. All right. Is it allowed to have a credit card? You're signing a contract that says that you will agree to pay interest every single time you forget to pay your bill on time.
How many times people read the contract?
Let's assume that you read the contract. Allowed? Who says it's not allowed to have a credit card because you're signing a document that's telling you that you're agreeing that you will go ahead and incur interest in case you don't pay your bill? Nobody. Who says it's fine to have a credit card? Everyone's like, oh boy, man, we're not going to answer this one. All right. So, what about? Well, no one said it's not okay. So that messed up the whole question there. I was going to ask about debit cards afterwards. Okay. So, anyways, credit cards are fine. So that I expected a different response. So credit cards are fine as long as you're making sure you pay the bill every single time. Now, what do you do? Okay, next question. If you have a problem, and you know you have a problem of being organized, and you're likely to not pay your bill on time and incur interest, what do you do? Are you allowed to have a credit card? You're not allowed to have a credit card. What's a good middle way to solve this problem for you, besides getting organized? Give it to your wife to pay, mashallah. Mashallah. Beautiful answer. Make sure she pays on time for you. All right. Is there another solution? Let's say husband and wife both have a problem. Use a debit card, or use your credit card like a debit card by paying in advance what you're going to be spending on that credit card. So then it automatically deduct from it. Right? So. Yes, American Express. All right. Okay. What is the proper way to divorce in Islam? The proper way. Yeah. That will be next month, inshallah. All right. What's the proper way to divorce? The proper way for that would be to not ask that question. First of all, that would be the only way you'd probably hear. All right. What is the proper way to divorce in Islam? Okay, bil ihsan, right? Alhamdulillah. What does the ihsan entail? All right. Okay, outside of the ihsan of doing good, what is the correct Sharia way? Let's say there's a man, he wants to divorce his wife. What is the first thing he should take into consideration in terms of pronouncing talaq? What should he do? It- yeah, okay. All of the psychological stuff aside, from purely Sharia perspective, what does he need to do in order to make sure he is not going against the Sunnah or doing something haram when it comes to divorce? What is the Sunnah method of divorce if you're going to perform a divorce? The correct way in Islam? Give some distance. Pronounce the talaq from 10 feet away. Put some distance when you. Yes, brother. That's one aspect. You're very, very close. There's another aspect I would like to focus on. Yes. Make sure she's not in her monthly cycle. Very good. That's step number one. Why? Because pronouncing talaq during a monthly cycle of the wife is haram. I'm going to say it again. Pronouncing talaq during the monthly cycle of the wife is haram. How many knew that? Okay, this is the issue, right? Most of the community doesn't know that. Now somebody asked why, right? You asked why. Now this is something that we could just analyze for a long time. Just think about the immense wisdom in this. When is there most likely to be tension in the marriage? What part of the month, right? Okay, that's exactly why, right? That's number one. Number two, what is the sunnah correct, the best way to pronounce that divorce outside of the menstrual period? It's to wait until a menstrual period has passed and she's in a period of purity in which they have not had intercourse within that period of purity. That is the correct and sunnah way to actually pronounce divorce, which means you don't just pronounce it in the heat of anger or you pronounce it the next day. You have to wait till the appropriate time. That is the correct way to do it. Okay, so that's the way of pronouncing the divorce. How many times should you pronounce divorce if you wanted to divorce your wife? The correct way, Islamically. I hear 3. I hear 1. Do I hear any 2s? Any 5s? Any 0s? It's ideal. The correct answer is 1. 1. You're not supposed to say it 3 times. You're supposed to say it 1 time. Okay? Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave people 2 chances. At-talaqu marratan. Right? That's in the Quran. Divorce is twice, meaning that you get 2 chances and then the 3rd time is sealed, it's over, it's not going to happen ever again. You can't get back together. So what you're supposed to do is pronounce talaq 1 time in the period of purity, not in the menstrual period, in a period of purity in which no intercourse has taken place. Then what happens next? Do they separate now and they go into separate homes? She should go back to her parents' house? Why not? She's divorced. 3 months, stay in the same house. Approximately, right? Why? Because she's not technically divorced. She's in a period of what's called revocable divorce. Revocable talaq, but it's not like divorce according to like they're separated now. So they're not finally divorced. So the point of keeping them in the same house is so that there's going to be some opportunity to interact and perhaps some reconciliation will take place. Now, what happens if 3 menstrual periods pass and the divorce is not revoked? Then the divorce is finalized and they're not married anymore. And after a period of iddah, they can go and get remarried to somebody else. Now the question is, with the process that I just explained to you, can the couple get remarried after 1 year? They have not married anybody else. Who says no? No, no. Who else says no? No. Are there any sisters who say no? Only men are saying no, they cannot get remarried because they're just thinking with the emotional. No, I've had it, man. It's done. No. Okay, sisters, why do you say no? Who said no? Why do you say no? Okay, so there's a verse of the Quran that speaks about how they cannot get remarried, but the sisters are responding with, that's if there's a third divorce. So if you have the third divorce, then they cannot get remarried. But since you did one divorce, you let the time period expire, now you are separated completely, you can still get remarried to the same person without having to marry somebody else. Okay? This is the correct way of divorce, and the wisdom is very clear. The wisdom is that if you wanted to go back to the same person, then you leave the opportunity open just in case, even though you're not thinking about it, just in case. But what people want to do is they want to hasten things and say, I've made up my mind, nothing is ever going to change my mind ever, and I'm going to cut the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even Allah gave me a chance to remarry, I don't even want that. Thank you Allah for giving me that, I don't want it. Throw it away. Never want to marry this person ever again. I want to make sure I never change my mind. Even if I change my mind, I don't want to change my mind. That's not the correct way of going about this. But most of the Muslim community doesn't know this. And this is a big problem, right? So this is the correct way to divorce in case it does happen, okay? Yeah.
Do we need two witnesses?
You don't need two witnesses. No. You don't need two witnesses for the divorce. Okay? Alhamdulillah. Yes. That's a separate question. I'm asking the questions tonight. So that's a separate question. Yes, so 5 years later, with one divorce, right? One talaq, they can still get remarried. 25 years go by, and they did the method that I just mentioned here, which is the sunnah method of divorce, they can get remarried. Yeah, it's a whole new marriage process, new mahar, no fake mu'akhar like we talked about in the beginning, none of that stuff. Real, proper marriage, just like before. The whole process starts again. Okay? Alhamdulillah. So it's 9 o'clock. One more. I'm asking the question. You want me to ask one more? No, I'm asking the question. You can ask me afterwards. All right? But I'll stop here, inshallah. I was about to ask about cosmetic surgery in Islam, but we'll leave that for next time, inshallah. Who likes this format better than the you asking me questions format? Nobody. Okay. So who would like to see this format one more time, inshallah? Okay, very good. So where I get to ask the questions. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah increase us in knowledge, increase us in wisdom, and help us to practice Islam in the best of manners. Ameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please help pick up the chairs, inshallah, if we can. I'm getting bold. Big mistake.